Welcome to Why This Keeps Happening. From Trauma to Transformation, the podcast that helps you break free from repeating patterns and create the life you want through our 5-stage process. This is a summary of a family field session between Lynetta and a client. Before we begin, we want you to know that this episode is based on a real coaching session. We've condensed it down to the key insights and breakthroughs to protect our clients' complete privacy. The voices you're hearing are AI-generated to keep our clients fully anonymous. This allows us to share real transformational moments from our coaching work.
And we really have an incredible deep dive for you today.
We really do. Today we are diving into a topic that honestly hits a little too close to home for me. We're talking about the clutter connection.
Oh, yeah. That is a big one.
Right. So we're looking at how the mess in your house, like that pile of mail you just can't seem to tackle, or the clothes on the chair, or the overflowing garage, how all of that might actually be baggage that doesn't even belong to you at all.
Which is such a wild concept when you first hear it.
It really is. So we're focusing on a specific session with a client we're calling Sarah. And Sarah came to Lynetta with this complaint that on the surface sounds like, something you'd hire a professional organizer for.
Yeah.
Not a trauma coach. She was just absolutely drowning in physical clutter.
Right, and I think it's important to clarify the kind of clutter we're talking about here, because this wasn't just a casual, I need to tidy up on Saturday kind of situation.
It was much heavier than that.
Exactly, it was visceral. Sarah actually described it as a suffocating loop. Like she would clean the kitchen and then turn around, and 5 minutes later, it just felt completely chaotic again.
Oh, man. I think a lot of people listening can probably relate to that feeling.
Oh, totally. And it wasn't just the physical stuff, it was this oppressive atmosphere. She literally told Lynetta that she couldn't breathe in her own house.
And see, that is the kicker right there. Because we tend to treat clutter as a logistics problem. Like we think, if I just buy the right storage bins or if I finally color code my closet, then I'll be fine.
Yeah, we think we just lack discipline.
Right, exactly. But the thing is, Sarah already had the bins. She had all the organizers. The problem wasn't a lack of plastic containers. The problem was the sheer panic she felt every single time she looked at them.
And that panic is the diagnostic tool we use. So in this deep dive, we are really going to flip the script. We aren't looking at the mess as laziness or bad habits. We are looking at it as a symptom of something invisible.
Yeah, like in Sarah's case, that pile of laundry wasn't just laundry. It was actually an ancestral shield she was holding up.
Which sounds completely wild to say out loud, right? My laundry is an ancestral shield.
It does sound crazy, but as we go through this session, it actually starts to make a really scary amount of sense. So the mission for this deep dive is to explore how Sarah used the family field method to identify these invisible burdens, and more importantly, how she actually released them.
So we are going to cover 3 main things today. First, we'll look at why trying to fix the mess never works if you ignore the root cause. Second, we'll show you how to tell if a burden is actually yours, or if it belongs to your parents or grandparents. And finally, we'll go over the specific technique of giving back those responsibilities so you can heal your family line.
Okay, so let's jump right into the session. Because it starts in a way that I found really fascinating. Lynetta didn't ask Sarah to sit down and describe her childhood or go dig through her trash right away.
No, that's not how the family field works.
Right. Instead, she asks her to use objects, like little crystals and figurines, to set up a visual map of her life right there on a table.
Yeah, and that is the core of the family field method. It's about taking that chaotic internal picture you have in your head and putting it out in front of you. It turns all those messy feelings into a clear visual map so you can actually see the relationships.
So Sarah picks this amethyst crystal to represent herself. And then she picks another object to represent the mess itself. And she puts them on the table.
And then what does Lynetta ask her immediately?
She asks, where do you feel this in your body?
Right. And that is the first big clue. Because we always think clutter is out there, right? It's in the room. But Sarah felt it immediately as this intense tightness in her solar plexus, like right in the pit of her stomach.
Just a hard knot.
Exactly.
Okay, but I have to pause here for a second, because if I'm Sarah and I'm paying for this coaching session, and my coach tells me to look at a rock that represents my messy house and talk to it, I might be a little skeptical.
Oh, for sure. You want a strategy. You want a step-by-step to-do list.
Right. I want the life hack.
Yeah.
But Lynetta tells her to look at the object representing the mess and say, I'm not going to try to fix you, change you, or make you go away. I'm here to listen.
It sounds so counterproductive at first, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
But you have to think about it like one of those Chinese finger traps. The harder you pull, the more you hate the mess and try to destroy it. The tighter it holds on to you.
So by fighting it, you're actually feeding it energy.
Precisely. Resistance creates persistence. Lynetta had to stop the war first.
Oh, I like that. Stop the war.
Yeah, so when Sarah said, I'm here to listen, she wasn't surrendering to the mess. She was just changing the dynamic of the relationship. She moved from being a combatant to being a witness. And the moment she did that, the sensation in her stomach actually shifted.
And when she actually listened, the mess had a message. And it was not subtle at all. Sarah said it was basically screaming at her, you are doing too much.
You are doing too much. That right there is the voice of the symptom. The clutter is not the problem. The clutter is just the red flag waving frantically saying, hey, slow down. The system is totally overloaded.
But this is where Sarah got kind of stuck. She heard the message, but she felt completely helpless. She told Lynetta, I know I'm doing too much, but I have to. She felt like the weight of the entire world was on her shoulders.
And this is where that visual map on the table reveals the real smoking gun. Lynetta asked her to pick out crystals to represent her parents and place them on the table.
And this is such a crucial moment. Sarah takes her parents and she places them far away.
Wow.
Like physically distant on the very edge of the table. And she explains that she was effectively raised by her grandmother and basically raised herself. Her parents just weren't really present in her daily life.
So logically, if you look at that, you'd think, okay, she's independent. She's a self-made woman who takes care of herself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the map showed something completely different.
Yeah, and that is the paradox we see when a child has to act like the adult. When parents are absent or struggling with their own massive issues, the child often steps in to fill that vacuum. They try to become the parent.
So they take on all that extra weight.
Yes, they take on the energetic weight of the whole family because they feel like someone has to hold it all together or the whole thing falls apart.
So even though her parents weren't actually physically there to pile demands on her, she was still voluntarily lugging around their emotional backpacks.
Well, it wasn't voluntary in the sense that she chose it consciously. It was purely a survival mechanism when she was little. Her pattern was, if I carry everything, maybe we'll all be okay. But now as an adult, that old internal pattern of I have to carry everything is manifesting as I have a house full of stuff and I physically cannot let any of it go.
Okay, so we have this map. Sarah is being crushed by this invisible weight. The parents are distant. So now we move to the actual intervention. Lynetta guides Sarah to face the representatives of her parents and her grandmother.
This is the turning point.
It is. And she has her say something that, I'll be honest, triggered a little bit of a, wait a minute, reaction in me.
Oh, really? What was the reaction?
Well, she has Sarah say, this burden is too much for me to bear. I'm giving back to you what is yours in love.
That is such a powerful sentence.
It is. But I have to play devil's advocate for a second here. If my parents are struggling or if they weren't capable, isn't it kind of cold to just hand their baggage back to them? Like, sorry, Mom, you're on your own. It feels a little bit like abandonment.
You know, that is the most common fear people have when they start doing this work. They think, if I put this down, I'm being a bad child. I'm being selfish. But we really need to introduce a concept here called the soul view.
Okay, yes, please walk us through the soul view.
Yeah.
Because to me, it sounds a bit abstract.
Okay, think of it this way. Imagine you are hiking up a really steep mountain. You have your own backpack on, and it's heavy, but you can manage it.
Okay, I'm visualizing the hike.
Now imagine your toddler runs up to you, grabs your 50-pound backpack, and tries to carry it for you just because they see you sweating.
Oh, gosh.
And of course, they're instantly crushed under the weight. They can't even walk.
Mm-hmm.
As a parent, do you feel good about that? Do you feel helped by your toddler doing that?
No, absolutely not. I would feel terrible. I'd want them to put it down immediately.
Exactly. You want them to respect your strength and your ability to carry your own gear. So the soul view is really just about dignity. When we try to carry our parents' emotional baggage like their unlived dreams or their old patterns, we're essentially looking at them and saying, I don't think you're big enough or strong enough to handle your own life, so I'll do it for you.
Oh, wow. When you put it that way, it actually sounds pretty arrogant.
Yeah. It is a form of arrogance. We sometimes call it loving arrogance because it definitely comes from a good place, but it is incredibly destructive.
Right.
So when Sarah handed that burden back, she wasn't abandoning her parents at all. She was saying, I see you as big, capable adults. I respect your dignity enough to let you carry your own fate.
That reframes the whole thing. It's not about rejection. It's about respect.
Precisely. And this leads right into another key concept Lynetta uses, which is workability.
Yes, I noticed that word. She didn't talk about whether it was right or wrong to help her parents. She just asked if the setup was workable.
Because we get so caught up in morality, right? Like, I should help my family or I ought to be a good daughter. The family field approach completely sidesteps all that morality and just looks at structural engineering. Is this structure workable?
Like asking if a bridge will actually hold the weight you're putting on it.
Exactly. Is it workable for a child to parent their own parents? No. Structurally, it just collapses. In the family system, love is supposed to be like a river. It flows downstream from the ancestors down to the descendants, from the parents to the children.
Okay, I see where this is going.
So when a child tries to carry the parent, they're basically trying to push that river upstream. It takes massive effort. It creates a huge blockage, and eventually it floods.
And that flood was the literal clutter in Sarah's house.
You got it. The clutter was the physical evidence of the river backing up.
Okay, so Sarah says the words, I give this back to you, and she visualizes taking off this heavy weight, and then she checks in with herself. Lynetta asks, is it gone? And Sarah realizes, oh, wait, I need to do this specifically for my father's side of the family, too.
Yeah, it's often like peeling an onion. You clear the general burden, and then you realize there is a specific heavy stone in there that belongs directly to the father's lineage. She had to be precise.
And this is where the session took a turn that I just absolutely loved. Because instead of just dumping all this trash or bad patterns back onto her ancestors, Lynetta suggested this beautiful twist. She suggested that Sarah visualized giving them the tools and the healing knowledge she has acquired in her own life.
This is such a crucial evolution of the whole process because Sarah has done a lot of work on herself. She has wisdom. She has tools to manage her thoughts. She has insights her parents just never had access to.
So she passes those tools back up the line.
Yes. She visualizes passing those tools back to her parents and grandparents. She's essentially saying, here is the weight that belongs to you. I'm giving that back. But here also is the light and the wisdom I found. You can use this to heal yourselves.
That feels so much better than just saying, here's your junk back. It changes the whole energy from resentment to contribution.
Exactly. It connects the family, it honors them, and it helps them, but in a way that is actually workable. It keeps that river flowing downstream.
And Sarah's reaction was instant. She said she felt lighter immediately. It wasn't that heavy, crushing backpack feeling anymore. It was the lightness of sharing wisdom.
And that shift is physical. You can usually see the client's shoulders literally drop 3 inches when that happens.
So the heavy burdens are returned. The ancestors have their tools. But we still have the mess sitting right there on the table. That crystal, representing the clutter, hasn't moved yet.
Right, the symptom is still sitting there.
So Lynetta does something she calls the circle technique. She has Sarah place all the family members and the mess in a circle. And the mantra they use is everyone belongs.
This is huge. Usually we just want to exclude the problem, like get this mess out of here, or I don't want to think about those old patterns. I don't want to talk about that relative. But in this work, anything that is excluded gains power over you.
Oh, so it acts out to get attention.
Exactly. It's just like a child acting out in a classroom because the teacher's ignoring them. The mess was acting out to get Sarah to finally look at these family issues. By putting it in the circle and saying you belong, you neutralize its power. You stop fighting it. And it just stops screaming.
Wow. And once the mess was included in that circle, they started to actually decode what stories it was holding. Because it wasn't just physical piles of paper. It was holding these old family scripts.
Scripts are those little phrases we hear growing up that turn into rigid thoughts and patterns in our brains. They just run on autopilot.
Right. And the first one they found was about money. Sarah's grandmother used to always say, money doesn't grow on trees.
The classic scarcity mindset. It just constantly tells you that resources are hard to find, hard to keep, and you have to struggle endlessly for them.
But Lynetta flipped it in such a clever way. She pointed out the humor in the phrase. She said, well, money is paper, so actually it does come from trees.
That is a funny moment, but it's highly strategic. Humor breaks the rigidity of that old belief. It's like cracking the concrete so a new thought can actually grow there.
Yeah, and then they did this great visualization. Instead of looking for money out there in the scarce world, Sarah imagined an internal tree rooted in abundance, and it was generating fruit-like prosperity from within herself.
Which is shifting from a belief of lack, the idea that I have to go hunt for survival, to a belief of generation, that I am a creator who generates value.
And then there was the second story, which I think hit even harder, the story about time. The family script was, you'd lose your head if it wasn't attached. and you'll be late to your own funeral.
Oof, late to your own funeral. I want you to really think about what that tells a child's body and their sense of safety.
Honestly, it sounds like a death sentence.
It really does. It installs a permanent pattern of anxiety. It tells you that you are fundamentally flawed, that you are unsafe, and that time is basically a predator hunting you down.
Well, no wonder she felt that intense tightness in her solar plexus. She was living in a constant state of, I'm already behind and I'm never going to catch up.
Exactly. And the clutter was just a physical manifestation of that frantic internal state. I don't have time to file this. I don't have time to clean this. She was running a race. She was literally programmed to lose.
So how did they reframe that? Because obviously you can't just magically make more hours in the day.
No, you can't, but you can change your relationship to time. They moved from the constant anxiety of the ticking clock to the concept of timelessness. It's a massive shift from always just run around trying to beat the clock to simply being.
And that brings us to the end of the session, which was, well, something happened that I honestly didn't expect. Sarah got really tired.
Yes.
And I don't mean just bored tired. She described getting incredibly sleepy, like she could barely keep her eyes open.
And that is actually the best possible sign. That is the physical proof of a deep release.
Really? Because I would have thought it meant she was just checking out or losing focus?
Not at all. It's completely biological. For decades, Sarah had been running on a high-alert fight-or-flight pattern. Her body was always saying, I have to save everyone, I have to manage the mess, I'm late to my funeral. She was internally running a marathon 24/7.
And then she finally put the backpack down.
Right. When she put that burden down and gave the responsibility back to her ancestors, her body realized for the very first time, I am safe. I don't have to run anymore. Her body shifted out of that panic pattern and finally moved into a resting state. That heavy sleepiness is literally the sound of the body healing. It's the system rebooting.
That makes so much sense. It wasn't exhaustion, it was just profound peace.
And notice what happened to the mess in the end.
Yeah, it kind of just dissolved. I mean, not literally, obviously, the stuff was still sitting there in her house. But emotionally, it dissolved.
Because the mess was only there to get her attention. It was holding all those family stories of scarcity and anxiety. Once those stories were heard and acknowledged and the burdens were returned to the ancestors, the mess just didn't have a job to do anymore.
It was unemployed.
Exactly. It was just stuff. It completely lost its emotional charge. And once it's just stuff, you can just clean it up. It doesn't fight back anymore.
That is the huge aha moment for me. We spend so much of our lives fighting the symptom. We buy the bins, we make the schedules, we shame ourselves for being messy. But if the stuff is actually a cry for help from your inner child or an old pattern from your ancestors, no amount of plastic bins will ever fix it.
Precisely. You have to address the source, not just the symptom. You have to make the family structure workable again so the love and the order can flow downstream like it's supposed to.
So let's quickly unpack the key takeaways for anyone listening right now who might be looking around their living room thinking, I think I have some ancestral piles sitting over there.
First, stop fighting the mess. Just listen to it. Ask yourself, if this clutter had a voice, what would it be saying to me right now?
Like Sarah's clutter saying you're doing too much.
Right. Second, check your backpack. Are you carrying burdens like emotional responsibilities or guilt that actually belong to your parents or grandparents? Remember, the soul view. They are big enough to carry their own fate.
And finally,
look at the scripts. What are the phrases constantly running in your head about money or time or safety? Are they actually yours or are they just echoes from the past? Because you have the power to rewrite them.
It really changes how I'm going to look at that stack of papers on my desk. I'll tell you that much.
Just remember it belongs. Include it, listen to it, and then see if you can finally let it go.
I love that. And I want to leave you all with a thought to mull over today. What if the thing you are most frustrated with in your life right now is actually the exact thing trying to heal your family line? Just let that sink in.
That's a powerful question.
It really is. And if you want additional support for yourself, visit whythiskeepshappening.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
We have so many resources out there for you.
Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if this resonated with you, please leave a review to help others find the show. Release the past. Reclaim your power. Start now.